No, it is, isn't it? So much has already happened today. Good morning. Mr. Daly. Mr. Brown. Here. Ms. Herbert. Here. Dr. Bustle. Here. Mr. Brennan. Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Good evening.
Reverend McDowell, would you maybe get us started with a little world of prayer as we get ready for what potentially could be some flakes coming down?
Let's bow our heads. Eternal Creator, for all that you've done for us, for this day, with all of the hopeful possibilities we've shared in this city of ours. We pause today to remember the senseless violence that is continuing to take place in our city. We pause to remember a 13-year-old child that very well could be one of our children. And for that, we thank the authorities for acting in a very critical way to solve for the violence that is taking place in our city. For CPD and Skip Holbrook, who in a very fiduciary way, trying to eliminate these acts of violence. In the midst of all that is taking place in terms of violence, we continually ask for grace and mercy. We continually ask for resourceful ways to not only deal with this programmatically, but to deal with things that are real within our community. For Alexandra Fergus and the loss of her husband, John Fergus, we pray for warmth, healing, and a kind of sympathetic spirit that might involve all of us. We ask it and claim it in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Reverend McDowell.
Thank you.
Due to the potential for inclement weather, I know the mayor mentioned, I'm gonna try to take you all through these agenda items fairly expeditiously, but I know some of these are really important. Also, we're hopeful that our listening public and those in attendance will pay particular attention to a couple of these items regarding our gateway signage recommendations and our security measures and infrastructure solutions. So I'm gonna start with those two. We're gonna start with gateway signage and then the security measures and then the boards and commissions discussion. I know several of you may have to come and go, and I was trying to get those in so that you would be here for those as well. So with that, we will get started. And let me say this too, for our listening staff persons in the city, I'm well aware of the weather. I'm well aware of the schools dismissing at 12:30. And we are monitoring that, and I will do an early release, probably as early as 2 or 3 o'clock. But if it appears that we need to do it sooner, we will let you know. So don't think that I'm not paying attention, because I always am. With that, we'll start with number 1, gateway signage recommendations. Mr. Robert Anderson, the Director of Public Works. Robert.
Good morning, and thank you. So, first of all, welcome on this great cold morning. We might get a little precipitation, and some of us are maybe here for most of the day and most of the evening. We'll just see how this plays out. So, as I've told the mayor and others, if you need to stay on, if you need to go out, call me. I'll tell you how the roads are. Just stay home, and we'll all be safe. So, with that, with starting, I want to thank Councilman Brown to begin with. So, there's nothing like trying to do a project when you really don't understand a project, and his willingness to open his doors at his business and let a few of us in and kind of let us look around and give us some ideas really helped with some of the thought processes. So, and a couple changes, but not many changes. Yeah, it's on. There we go. So first of all, this is what we've settled on. we've actually, from the last time we talked, we actually deleted the brick border at the bottom. We darkened the gray up. This will be the daytime view of the sign. We actually inverted some colors. We had them white to begin with. Actually, after visiting Councilman Brown's location, we decided to take it at night and turn the letters white, which will be a forward-facing color of white. Then it'll be backlit on the logo and on the river. We thought that would really look sharp at night when it gets a little darker and everything and the lights come on. So this would be the main sign of the prominent areas of Columbia. Then we have just kind of an overhead view. What we talked about is taking some mulch or taking some gravel. And we'll actually outline it if you look down on the sign. And what that will do will actually help us be able to maintain around it and keep a fairly clean look. Then we have the non-lit styles. The non-lit styles will just be the blue, and then we have the tertiary, which I've learned how to say, sign in the upper right-hand corner, which will go at a lot of the entrances in town. A lot of them we took down. The one I can think of right now would be to the bridge that's going over the Jarvis Clapman Bridge, which says "Welcome to Columbia." So our sign shop would be able to make the right-hand sign and put them up at entrances into town.
So we're gonna put those like on Forest Drive where it turns over, on Beltline, all those spots where we had, a capital place to be. and
Correct. If we can remember where we took all those signs at, but
And we're in
yes.
the process of removing those, right?
If you see one, let me know. I think we've removed all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think. So, but one's liable to pop up at any moment. So, but that would be that sign. Before I go any further, I hope to have it here by council. It was gonna be here at 1 o'clock today. We do have the letter O today that is going to be delivered to us. It was gonna be here at 1 o'clock, so we have an O that we will be able to plug in, so we will be able to go in a dark room. You'll be able to see the blue. You'll be able to see how it looks, with the lights on.
Another
How
letter.
Oh, it
wonderful.
was
Not
a
a
great
C.
word, okay?
Oh,
Oh, geez.
I tried to get him to do the logo.
All I can think
so-
of is,
But I guess O's must be easy to do. I'd have to defer to Councilman
Robert,
Brown. so.
since we're doing the signs for the street in-house, is it possible to add the word welcome?
We can add anything we need to, yes, sir. Okay.
Where would welcome go? Up top,
you'd have to shift, right?
like up top
We
where?
have to shift it down a little bit.
Talking about the smaller signs.
Some of those signs over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like welcome to,
welcome to.
You might have to change
or now entering,
might have
whatever.
to change the
You want
spacing.
welcome
of
or
the-
now entering?
I like
It'll look
welcome.
good.
Well, I like welcome
like
too.
You're
Can we get
down.
that in a script
Yeah,
book
thanks.
or in a
I would do,
formal?
I would do.
I know,
block.
that's how some of the cities have it.
They have, a lot of them have.
Yeah.
that.
Oh, it sounds like it's
I just think it'd be
personal.
nice if we could squeeze the word welcome to in.
Welcome by
This
people.
looks great. It's awesome to see it come to this point.
Finally, yes.
I love
Yes, finally.
All right, so when is all this happening?
Yeah, I wanna know timeline too.
it. Next Thursday.
Like, by the end of this month?
I actually have some locations that
The
we.
top left is probably the one that will make the biggest difference.
Okay, so, so you would like the top left sign lit, is what you're saying?
Yes.
So if we do that, I would suggest that if we do one at Harbison, we do one that's not lit at Harbison.
Yeah,
Therefore, you do not have two prominent signs back to back.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
I need a
I think
map.
the bottom right too, either bottom right or bottom left, those are two locations where people, let's say you're coming downtown from the northeast side and you're coming into Columbia, you may come up, I think that's what, is that 277?
that's Bull, yeah, 277 Martin,
And right there's 277 as well, right?
277 at Jarvis, and or 277 at the Clyburn Bridge. I was gonna see if there was electricity. I would rather put it at the Clyburn Bridge, but I would defer to council on that.
Put it on it?
Well, to put it to the side of the bridge before we get in, but I've gotta verify we can get electricity down the hill.
I'd know.
All right, so just in case you get into trouble with electricity, if you need help, we can help you, but
Take that place.
putting a solar panel on these things is not a big deal or behind it.
Okay,
Just gotta be, there's a little bit of work to be done, but we do that all the time.
okay.
Why do you rather by the Clyburn Bridge? Which one?
I think that's, to me, when you start entering Columbia, but I would defer to council. I think that's merely your call. If you'd rather have it at Bull and 277, I think Bull and Hardin, I think it fits there also.
Those two top left with the mayor's residence and bottom right, those two to me are, you have entered into Columbia, like you're
I
here.
don't think they're crazy.
Get off,
They've got
once
money
it's
in there right now.
full street.
They need to read it.
Second row to your left a little bit, and then the next one, you've seen the skyline, I think, on either UG or the one. That's just,
I like, the only thing about the bottom one is I already like that there's really pretty landscaping there that's being maintained. So the sign would look really nice there. Cause the worst thing that could happen is like, you have this brand new sign and then there's just like weeds around it. But, so yeah, but I see what you're saying. I was set on, I really like the Elmwood UG split, cause that's like such a major gateway and no one knows it's the city, so. I know it'll mess up the rock.
No, I think that's
That's the main
to me,
one.
that's the number one that you
Yeah.
do. Because so many people, if they're coming from Charleston or if they're coming from Florence or Augusta, they're not gonna hit Harbison.
Yeah,
They're gonna come
Airport.
rolling right in, so I
those
think
are
that's,
key.
I think that's probably one of the first you go for sure.
And then I'm still trying to focus a little bit. The one that's in the natural area in the upper right is North Main Street. You know, right now I don't have it lit because I do know that we have to do one at,
North Main and where?
I've got it right at I-20, just past the, right there by the Pepsi plant. But I also know that there would be, if we're gonna put one on North Main, we need to put one on Fairfield also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Fairfield's hard because you come right off that, there's not a lot of good places there.
correct.
I wonder if you do, the smaller sign there,
Okay.
something to think about. You could even take it off one of those light poles, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's, I think they're LEDs, so they'll be low.
and you're thinking about doing these in like phases? Like the three major ones we've talked about make sense. I think the ones that you're still kind of playing around with.
Yeah, we'll bring them
Okay,
back as
yeah.
we go, okay? So, and if we had questions, discussion, I will put a plan together with the company who's watching this today, who's delivering the O. So, we'll try to get up to city council for everybody to see today if it comes in time. And I appreciate your time, appreciate
Thank
your.
you.
guiding
Thank you
us
for
through
bringing
this.
us to life.
Thank you, Robert.
Well, that was easy.
So easy.
Great job. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay, so our next item, security measures and infrastructure solutions for public spaces. Clint has been very instrumental in putting this presentation together, as well as all the team that's here, Robert and Harold and Harry and Chief. Clint's not feeling well. I told him, don't spread his germs with us today.
Come down here.
I'm sure he's listening. So Chief got the short straw pull, but I was telling Chief Holbrook that this is a great first blush look at a presentation we're teeing up also for potentially members of our Richland County Legislative Delegation and/or a committee regarding public safety at the State House. Chief Holbrook's been in conversations with Chief Keel, and there's a lot of discussions and I think an interest and appetite for public safety measures holistically that need to be discussed, as many of you have, Dr. Bustles, the mayor, and Mr. Brennan, whoever's on legislative committee, and then with full council, you know that that's one of our prioritized items. So it's very timely, specifically regarding the discussion of, which you'll hear all the terminology in a minute, bollards, barriers, et cetera. You all have been talking about this for a long time and have been very proactive in this space. When New Orleans, the tragedy there happened, we were planning to bring this forward anyway. So I think it has put it to top of mind for many people. And we appreciate the fact that you all have already leaned into us doing something and doing something as quickly as possible. Chief?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Clint was the leading this presentation, so I want to manage y'all's expectations right out of the box. He's very articulate, and so not only am I filling in for him, I'm kind of like the backup quarterback too. But I'm going to pass it off to these subject matter experts. They really did a fantastic job on this, each providing their input. Because there's a lot of units and divisions within the city that touch these what we're going to talk about today and the different events that we deal with. I think it really is important, though, that to realize we have been looking at this for some time, and I think that's just going to accelerate this process for us because we've got some really good recommendations for y'all. So I'll start with our agenda. We're going to provide some background information to you to give you some perspective while we're having this discussion today, beyond just New Orleans. We're going to talk about the risk assessment considerations that we do each time we have these events, and that's going to cover three main categories that we will discuss. And we're going to explain in some further detail the U.S. Homeland Security Safety Act, and really to very simply state that, it's leveraging technology to help fight terrorism. And we're going to talk about how that applies here locally. Key terms and definitions are going to be very important for this discussion. And because I think it's important that we understand the difference between something that's simply put, crash rated and non-crash rated. We'll talk about the crash rated barrier systems. There's a number of them to choose from, and we think we've got some good recommendations. And then talk about some additional considerations that are always on full display when we have events. And you've all seen whether they're bike racks, signage, water barriers, just other things that we've used, landscaping considerations. So we'll have some additional discussions about that. So when we talk about background information, the use of a vehicle as a weapon in an attack is certainly not new. That was a horrific situation in New Orleans was our very most recent one. But if you think about it, we've had situations in Manhattan, Charlottesville, abroad in Berlin was during Christmas was a real attention grabber and reminder, and then of course Austin, Texas. These attacks with vehicles require minimal capability but have devastating impacts just because of the nature of the crowds. And it's often a result of limited perimeter security measures. We are certainly not immune here to these threats. We have many outdoor special events that require police department and city divisions to close roads and provide security for events. But we're kind of talking about terrorism, domestic terrorism, but I would also say that we know that medical emergencies contribute to these accidents, impairment, mental health crisis. We know what we're dealing with at the local level there. And then intentional acts specifically towards somebody that you just have collateral damage. So we're susceptible to all this. We know what goes on in 5 Points in the Vista, not just including St. Patrick's Day, but we have events that require street closures in both of those entertainment districts for events throughout the year. Of course, our parades that we have very frequently. Hopefully, we'll have another national championship parade in the near future, and then of course Soda City, and then all of the events that we deal with in support of events at the state capitol. Any major event at the state capitol affects Gervais and Main Street, and we cannot lose focus, and that's where we need collaboration and support from our elected officials at the state capitol.
Chief, just for the public that's listening, do you mind repeating the number of events that happen in our community on an annual basis?
We literally have, on average an event, 300 plus events a year. It is just staggering what we deal with, and oftentimes what people also don't realize is the smallest event versus a big event, they typically require the same footprint and security measures. The attendance just may fluctuate, but security measures that are in place require quite a bit of assets.
And that number, I don't think, includes Major Martin and his team at university athletic events. That's almost
That's
every
exclusive of
weekend.
that, you're right.
And so while they have their own police force, it isn't us managing the events and the level of, expertise that you all bring and that the university acknowledges they rely on.
They do, and as a matter of fact, they typically handle the interior of their events, and we almost exclusively handle the traffic and pedestrian safety.
Except for football, just want to make sure everybody's listening. We are not in charge of the routes at football.
What's that?
We are not in charge of the routes at football. So make sure.
That is a long-established, engineered by our absolute traffic flow experts with State Department of Transportation and Highway Patrol.
We'll give them all the credit on it.
Yes. So for some additional background information, we currently use a hybrid of safety mitigation solutions to harden our perimeters. That's police vehicles, code enforcement vehicles, solid waste trucks, fire trucks, water barricades, and just various other barricades. And I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, I was quickly tallying this as I sat down, but we had 119 people that worked security yesterday. 8 public works trucks, 4 fire trucks, 3 other CFD heavy vehicles, 4 buses from USC, 60 police vehicles, and 8 vehicles from other assisting agencies. That's a lot of assets, but it was absolutely necessary. And I stood, as I stood at Main and Gervais, I just, as I stand there and just kind of look around and assess things, we do things the right way. We always over-prepare and always deliver. And it's really because of this team, Major Martin and his, how he handles things for the police department, how we're always complimented. Immediately by our other city divisions, and then, of course, our partnering agencies. We spin up for these things oftentimes at a moment's notice, and it's really become second nature to us. But I would argue that for the purposes of this discussion, if we can arrive at some solutions for some permanent bollards and some portable bollards, what we would require from ourselves in terms of heavy equipment and personnel, we could dramatically reduce that to where we could actually put more people in the event where we have even greater visibility and prevention efforts internally in the event. So there are some really, I think, tremendous opportunities for us to make some decisions that we know have a cost today, but will give us a return on investment for years to come. And I think we've got a series of pictures. You want to step up and talk about these? Okay.
That would be proud, Chief. That was well said.
Thank you. That was all in the spirit of Clint. Okay.
Yeah, he's watching.
Good morning. It's great to be back in front of you. It's been over a year now, and it's been a great year. And just following up with some of the mandates that you all laid out when I was first hired, it truly is, as Chief said, it is a team. Being a special events coordinator for the city, but then working with the police department, Major Martin, Captain Blendowski, and the chief, and then, Harry with emergency management, the fire department, Chief Jenkins, and George Adams. It truly is a team effort, and Robert with Public Works. Pick up the phone and the support's there. So I want to thank everyone that's here because it is truly a collaborative effort. And like Ms. Wilson said, this isn't something new that we've been working on. It's been something that we've been working on. We've had some demonstrations. Of course, we wanted to have the demonstration earlier in the year, and that did not work out. But Mayor, I think what you were talking about, and I'm going to do a better job of actually keeping track of each one of these, but we had over 62 festivals. We had over 28 parades and over 53 races. That, like you said, does not include university involvement. That does not include our neighborhood events. So we really are, involved in our community and involved with a lot of events.
That didn't include the State House either, did it?
That does not include the State House. So, we really are involved, and Like Chief said, I just want to go over very briefly how we normally respond as far as what level we utilize or roll out when we're doing things. Neighborhood event, like a block party or street closure, is normally the wooden barricades. That's normally what we deploy. As we move into some of the races and stuff like that, we use barricades, and then we will use some cars depending on the location. But as we move into the festivals, whether it's downtown or wherever, then we start deploying a hybrid type environment where we'll use barricades and cars. And we rely on our public safety team. When there's an event, we all get together, we discuss, what is the risk? Are they elevated? And then that's where we come into where we deploy, the code enforcement vehicles, the solid waste vehicles, the fire apparatus, and the water barriers. Hit the next one. After the unfortunate event at New Orleans, the city manager was great, let's take the action we need to take. We know we have a high-risk situation, so we deployed with the partnership with the fire department and public works, the heavy vehicles at all of the locations. And so the city, they have 4 different phases. Right now, thankfully, they are on phase 1, which is a smaller footprint. So it involves fewer vehicles, but you can see how we deployed, ma'am.
Don't touch it, cause it'll.
Deployed the trucks, but you can also see where we've had to utilize police vehicles to help block the sidewalks.
So just in the future, if we put electronic bars or whatever it is, we'll stretch it across the road and into the sidewalks. Would that be the ideal
That is correct.
plan?
We're also gonna have some recommendations in executive session as far as what we would like to recommend. And of course, if you're at St. Patrick's Day, another tool that we've deployed are the Jersey barriers, what we like to call water barriers. So those are also used in addition to our police vehicles and then our heavy vehicles, public works, to help create another level of security.
So, one of the mayors who were with us, we was talking about that they had traditionally used concrete, that they lift up with, forklift. And what they've done in their entertainment districts, because they have so many events, what we do is they bought planters and had them planted with trees and stuff, and they use them for decorative during the week, but when they have the event, then they use them to line up, because it's concrete and stuff, so it creates a nice, good-looking barrier, and the trees are up top. So, something we ought to think about in some of these areas, having a mix.
But they're gonna.
And that is something we're gonna bring up in executive session. And, it's got a great team because, we're taking in consideration AD accessibility and everything else. But, that's what we're deploying right now. Harry's gonna come up now and lead us in some of the tools and everything that we can use.
Okay. That's what we ought to do there.
Well, good morning, Madam City Manager, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Thank you for your time here today. We'll be brief, but we do want to talk a little bit about some of the planning that we've been undergoing with staff as we talk about security at public events. So in April of 2024, I believe, U.S. Department of Homeland Security issued an incident planning tool, if you will, for mitigating and preventing vehicle incidents. It goes into a lot of stuff. It's like a 60-some page document. And within that, there's a framework that's been established to plan for, protect, and prevent any kind of vehicle accidents. And crash barricades and bollards are one component of that. It's also within the guidance of the Homeland Security is there's a self-assessment tool that you can do a risk assessment from considerations. And there's basically 3 categories when you're assessing risk at public events. And it's the environmental characteristics, the vehicle size, and pedestrian. When we talk environmental characteristics, it's usually the access point, whether you close a street or you have a sidewalk or if you have a gate entry where you got people queuing up to get inside the event, you want to make sure you're considering hardening that area so no vehicle can get to them. And then, of course, it's always the size and speed of the vehicle. So whether it's a sedan type vehicle or a larger pickup truck like was used in New Orleans or a larger heavy duty vehicle. And then pedestrian factors, it's crowd density is when we talk risk assessment for these events that we have throughout the city. The crowd density is an issue. There is also the considerations that you look at. Can the crowd move freely? If a vehicle were to penetrate the perimeter, would they be able to evacuate in multiple locations? Is there planners, like you were talking about, Mr. Mayor, that would give them an opportunity to jump behind something? So anytime you close the street to traffic, vehicle traffic, then you've got crowd in there. You got to really harden that area. So these are some of the things that we looked at when we were planning this. Also, when we looked at all the various safety barriers that are out there on the market, we wanted to make sure that any unit that we looked at or considered met the safety designation of the Safety Act. And that is in 2002, Congress passed this act to basically foster companies to build anti-terrorism technologies, robots, it's all the stuff that we're talking about. Crash barricades is one of those too. We felt like that provides a layer of legal protection to not only the designer who built and deployed that unit, but also the customer and the downstream users of the components. And that's what that designation does. So we wanted to make sure we were doing the risk assessments to our events, and then whatever we make the recommendations would be meeting the Safety Act. This is a little wordy here, but we felt it was important for you to understand different terms and definitions. So when you hear us talk about Archer Guard, that is just the steel barriers that are put together. There's usually 3 or more, like you were talking about, Mr. Mayor. You put them together, and we'll have an example of that here later or in executive session. But those have 4-foot cable arresters. And then when we talk about barriers, it's the standalone rectangular that you can put on a sidewalk, or you can bolt them together. Once you bolt them together, it provides more penetration of protection. Ballards, it's important that we note here, ballards are those short, sturdy units. They can be either crash rated or non-crash rated. And the non-crash rated ones do not require much core or excavating. They're bolted to the surface, and it's mainly to prevent pedestrian or vehicle traffic. When you talk about crash rated, we'll get into a couple terms here. We want to make sure that we're following the U.S. rating system. If we're going to install something that's going to prevent a vehicle from intruding into penetrating into a pedestrian crowd, it needs to be crash rated. And then the crash rated ballards are also available. They can be retractable, which we'll talk in more discussion later. But they are engineered and they have the certification of crash rating. And when we talk about crowd control, bike barricades, those are for crowd control, and they're not crash rated, but they are good for VIP visits, parades, things of that nature. You'll notice the State House uses them. They interlock together, and you can compartmentalize the crowd off into sections. I don't know if you've ever seen the New York ball drop. They're inside they call them pins. Once you go in, you stay in that area because you've been checked. But it helps to maintain crowd control. And if you talk about, I don't know if you saw, I think it was during the event at Bourbon Street, excuse me, the Nasatka barrier, that is a 12-foot barrier. It's usually a trailer mounted. It goes in, you set it down. Once you raise it up, you can go up and down when you want to open the traffic back up. But once you set it up, that provides 15,000-pound vehicle traveling at 30 miles per hour. That is a crash-rated barricade. And then the non-rated barricades, we're just talking about if you do a bollard, a non-crash rated, a bollard, it's usually just bolted to limited core excavation. There's not a lot of infrastructure dealing with it. But it's not crash rated, and that's the key we want to stress on. And when we talk about modular vehicle barriers, those are small. They're about 56 pounds, small yellow units. You bolt together, link together every 2 feet to cover a lane. We'll show you an example of that. And then we'll talk about planners, which are crash, believe it or not, they are crash-rated steel, concrete, reinforced, and they're bolted to the surface at ground level. And we'll show you examples of that in executive. But and this is when we start talking about crash ratings. The K ratings, any crash rating that you look at is going to look at vehicle. It's going to look at the speed of the vehicle, and then how far it goes inside the perimeter or penetration past the barrier opening. And K ratings are the real strong ones. Those are the ones that the Department of Defense and Department of State uses. And they stop a 15,000-pound vehicle and they test those at 30, 40, and 50 mile per hour increments. And those are, you'll see those around federal buildings, critical infrastructure, military bases. And then the M rating is the American Society of Testing Materials, and that is a 5,000-pound surrogate vehicle, and it is tested at 10, 20, and 30. And I think we have a video of that for you. So is what staff has been looking at is Ballards. We assessed the crash rating or non-crash rating and some locations. There is a Meridian Rapid Defense System. That's the Archer berries you see at the top there. That you can chain those together with arrestor cables. And then there's Advanced Security Technologies. That's the modular vehicle barrier, which is the yellow down there that you see every 2 feet. You put them together, and then you can serve that as a pivot gate, and it's crash rated as well. And then the one on the bottom right with the stop sign is the Nasaka. That's the one that's 15,000-pound vehicle, 30 miles per hour rating. And that gate comes up and down. It's automated, so that's used. And then the other is Barrier 1 systems, which are Ballards that are engineered and put it below ground, retractable. So those are some of the systems that we were looking at as we tried to increase our capacity and build out. And this is just another example without the wording. This is the Archer Guard is at the top. There's the standalone Archer barrier that you can either use one or bolt two together, four together, as many as you want, depending on what type of area you're trying to protect. And then the standard Ballard, that right there is a non-crash rated one. And then the crash-rated Ballards and the bike barricade racks here, and then the planter on the very bottom right there, that is a crash-rated, believe it or not, that is a crash-rated planter.
I mean, but the only thing we're interested really is crash rated when it comes to that. I mean, there's no reason for us to invest in just a non-crash.
That's exactly right. So some of the considerations, when we do the risk assessment.
Except for bike racks.
Except for bike racks,
And
yeah.
that's with the parades, because as you all have experienced, the bigger our parades become, we can't have it anymore where the crowd starts to
Starts
like
coming in,
this.
yeah.
So we do need.
We're lucky
some
nothing
for that.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have that sanitized area, you want to be able to control that crowd. And that does really, it works, believe it or not, that it does the job. So, but we do the risk assessment of when to deploy them, as Harold said, and our considerations here are crash-rated barriers only for what we're talking about. And some of them will be removable, and then some of them would be mechanical. And when you start talking about crash, the bottom right there, the crash bollards or barriers, that requires engineering, infrastructure. We got fiber, everything, water lines, all kind of infrastructure on Main Street. So we would definitely discuss having that engineered properly to determine that.
Well, in conjunction with that, would that give us an opportunity to upgrade some of the things that we may need to, electrical and other things while
Potentially.
we're there?
Yeah.
It may help us with the discussion, the Boyd Foundation still wants to figure out how to put lanterns or something. I think they've gotten away from the canopy, but lanterns and stuff. So as we're doing this, there may be a way for us to then upgrade electrical there as well to make that an easier.
So we are just wanting to tee that up. That was good education for our listening public as well. We have some more specific recommendations we need to talk to you about in executive session today.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you all, great job. We will continue with our boards and commissions, match board review. Ms. Pamela Benjamin, Assistant City Manager for Administrative Services, and Ms. Ashley Jenkins, Special Projects Coordinator. And I know that you all have been also awaiting this discussion for a bit, as far as some updates, and I think it's also a refresher because there had been a lot of work on this with our Administrative Policy Committee of Council, so we appreciate that, but I think over time, we need to have some reminders and maybe also y'all may have some suggestions on some tweaks. Erica, were you wanting them to break at this point or keep going at, we have lunch, I didn't know if y'all wanted to work. Okay, all right, sounds good.
Good morning, everyone. Like Ms. Wilson said, we wanted to just shine another little spotlight on the boards, commissions, and committees, the process. And also, like she said, the Administrative Policy Committee did a lot of work on trying to make some revisions to the handbook, some suggestions about the process. Ashley has definitely been engaged with all of you, asking about how we can make this process even better. Because at the end of the day, we want to have a diverse, active community involved in our boards and commissions, because that's what really makes them work. And that is what the goal is always to do. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley. She's going to kind of do an overview update. Then we're going to have Emily with Matchboard do a little demo for everybody to see. At the end of the day, Matchboard is the platform that we have all of the people interested in serving. That's where they put their applications in. That's the process. And so we want to reinforce that is the process. And Emily's going to show us how easy it is. So it's not very difficult for people to do it. And it's a great platform for everybody to use. And then, like Ms. Wilson said, we'll get into some of the recommendations. Well, actually, some of the changes that have already been put in place. But just a little refresher on that. And then we're so welcome to any feedback that we have that makes it the best process for you all to be able to choose those good qualified candidates to serve. And also, if there are any suggestions on how we can engage the community, we also want to hear those things as well. So, Ms. Ashley, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can get started. And here's the clicker.
Okay, good afternoon. Well, good morning. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, Sam Benjamin. Oh, it's opposite. Okay. Okay, let's go. All right, there we go. Okay. Just checking. Okay. As you can see, the City of Columbia has over 36 boards, commissions, and committees, and opportunities for citizens to serve. The committees provide opportunities for citizens to amplify their voice in the community. And the City of Columbia boards and commissions committees serve in an advisory capacity to City Council and some of the city departments. Ooh, I got it. Just 5 fast facts. Columbia City Council appoints members to the City of Columbia boards, commissions, and committees that represent the diverse population of our city. Boards, commissions, and committees are comprised of individuals who are representative of the geographic, racial, gender, and professional diversity of the citizens of Columbia. The appointments are also based upon district-specific and at-large positions in order to include citywide participation for neighborhoods, businesses, and civic and community-based organizations. Boards and commissions and committees have varying term limits, requirements, responsibilities, and some are even commissioned by state law. So the boards fall into 7 categories, and they're listed: advisory, arts and cultural, community impact, code enforcement, funding, intergovernmental, and land use. Just a quick overview of the categories that we mentioned before, and it shows how many boards fall in that category. So for advisory boards, we have 5. Again, you see the 36 total. 8 community impact boards. It lists all the boards, and we actually have a list on the next slide showing them, I believe. So you'll see that in your printout as well. It's just the boards separated into the categories that were on the last 2 slides. Just a little bit about the boards and commissions and committees application and appointment process. The City Council makes all appointments for service to city boards, commissions, and committees. There's a comprehensive list of current boards, commissions, and committees on the City of Columbia website and also Matchboard. And the application process for the boards and commissions is as follows. So the vacancies are advertised via press release, posted on the City of Columbia website, and also shared with our community partners. And all the vacancies are listed for a minimum of 30 days, which is something that council wanted added. Candidate recommendations come from the mayor, current board members, community members. Shows the application process. They apply through Matchboard. From there, we take the qualified candidates, we present them to city council. You all review the supporting documents, and then the applications are voted on at city council, and people are appointed. All citizens interested in serving on a City of Columbia Board or Commission apply via Matchboard, which is a great interface that we now use. It allows them to create a profile, apply, check up on their application status, and a lot of things that Emily will go ahead and update us on. So Emily Bowerman, and along with SC Will, she was very instrumental in creating the program. How it works has helped us kind of go through and customize it so that it works for our city. So she's essentially one of the project engineers, and she's going to walk us through Matchboard and just talk about the options and how you all can utilize it. Thank you, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for letting me join you. As Ashley said, my name is Emily Bowerman, and I am the director of Matchboard. Matchboard is actually a project of the nonprofit South Carolina Women in Leadership, and it is a boarding commission management platform that is used by 15 local governments in the state of South Carolina, including Columbia. And actually, y'all were one of our first clients, one of the early adopters leading the way. So it's very easy to use Matchboard, and in fact, people can go to y'all's website, and Matchboard is embedded directly into it, so people can search for your boards. They're able to filter by category, so if they want to narrow down those 30 plus boards, they can also search by keyword. They get a little overview of each board. They can view the members, and then when they're ready to apply, they can do so. I am actually going to submit an application so you can see what that process looks like, but to forestall any confusion for Erica and Ashley, I'm actually going to do it in one of our test accounts, so I'm going to switch tabs. So this is what the interface looks like, whether they access the boards and commissions through your website or through the Matchboard website. It works exactly the same. I can see that I've already applied to this board, so I'm not going to reapply, but I will pull up this Community Relations Council board. I can see that the terms are for 4 years, that I'm allowed to serve for 2 terms. Something unique to Matchboard that is very helpful, in addition to giving an overview of the boards and commissions, we list the areas of interest, experience, expertise. It's helpful applicants have a background in, so that way they can know if they're qualified before they even apply. And they can see the current seats that are available and can apply. We have a few application questions they'll answer. We do ask their council districts, and if they don't know that, they are directed to SC Votes so they can look it up. The demographic questions are optional. And then if there are multiple positions available, they're able to say which one they are interested in serving in. They then have the option to either upload a cover letter, making their case as to why they would like to be appointed, or they can type that instead. I'll just type some nonsense. And I automatically get notification that my application has been submitted. My application is actually more than just those couple questions. Every Matchboard user creates a profile, and this allows them to showcase their resume, their education background, references, their qualifications, and contact information. And it also makes it very easy if they want to apply to multiple boards or to reapply in the future. They have this profile that lives forever and makes it very easy for them to continue to get involved. One thing that I'm sure Ashley appreciates is that they can check on the status of their application at any time, so they do not have to then call in to see where their application is. They can see if it's been viewed, if they're in consideration, if council decided to defer appointments or decline to appoint them. They can also withdraw their application if they'd like.
So who views it?
The application goes directly to both Ashley and Erica.
So is there a way for us to notify those folks that it's going through the system and that it'll be handed? Because I don't want them to think or that we viewed them all right off the website.
Yes, the notification screen, I shouldn't have toggled away from it so quickly. It does say that their application has been received and will be reviewed. And if they do need to contact the clerk, in addition to checking on their application status, they can message Ashley and Erica directly right here, and both parties will get email notifications as well when they have new updates.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And if they have any technical questions, we do have a help desk screen that is embedded on every part of Matchboard. We have video guides and FAQs. And if they have additional questions, they can submit a help desk ticket. We receive less than one a month on average.
So I've got a question. When you put in your district, you put in District 8.
Yeah, I was about to.
So, and we see that a lot, so we only have 4 districts, and I promise you that almost nobody in Columbia knows what district they live in. I get that call more than I get about potholes and trash pickup. So is it possible that we could they could just put their, plus they don't live in the city?
That's correct.
So half of them don't live in the city, and they think they live in the city. So can we get to the point where they just put in their address and it basically says you live in District 4 or you don't live in Columbia?
Something we have explored that would require a GIS integration, which is one of the reasons we have not moved forward with that, because we know each of our clients may use a different GIS system. At the moment, it is limited to them inputting their council district, but they can look it up on SD Votes.
It is specific though, Emily, and I know you were just doing an example just then. That caught my eye too when you put in 8, like Mr. Brown said. But you were just making up someone. Obviously, there are not 8 council districts in Columbia, but Matchboard serves lots of different clients. So if it were a Columbia-based client or citizen searching or doing their application, does it only it'll only come up for council districts?
No,
No, I see 8 all the
it's
time.
all of them.
And 10.
I really, 10. I like 10, that's my favorite.
Why would it
do
to the
that?
engineers to see if we can limit it to 4 council districts for the drop-down option?
Well, I mean, it would have to because that's all there is. Do you see what we're saying? I mean, and how would, I guess I'm not understanding. I know you say you don't have the GIS capability yet, but how would that even be?
So for the drop-down currently, that question applies to every single one of our clients, and some of them do have very different council district numbers.
But
For
do we
example, I
have
know
to have that? Do we have to have that question? Because if we just had put the address.
we can remove that question.
I would almost rather not ask the district and get the wrong number, because every time I read a wrong number, it does something to me. But if we put the physical address in, then staff can verify. But I would prefer that than putting wrong information or getting wrong information.
I agree.
And is it from a GIS capability? I mean, we have a phenomenal GIS department.
I was thinking.
Is that a Matchboard thing, obviously holistically, or do your individual clients, if we have the capability to get that synced up for Columbia, is that an option?
That would require quite a bit of, so it would require what's called the API, which is allowing the 2 systems to communicate with one another. So it would require some finagling both on the GIS system side and on our side.
Okay.
So currently, we cross-reference it anyway, staff does. So if they input their address and they list a council district, we're not just taking it for what's entered. We cross-reference it through our GIS system, input their address.
On the back end.
What's their
do it.
applications though, because
But
we
it
look
says
at it,
stays in Matchboard.
see District 10, I'm like, okay.
It does, but on the materials that you all receive, it'll say, like, say for instance, they entered Council District 8. When we input their address, we find out they're Council District 2. It's going to list it on your memo, on the email notifications, anything we send to you, even what you have in front of you on
Are you
City
able
Council.
to update it, Ashley?
We don't post anything that's wrong. some people are just unsure. And what'd you say?
I was asking if you're able to go in and change the district. I agree that if it's not lining up, then if we're able to remove that question, then let's go that route. But
Okay, yeah.
also, are you able to go in and manually update the district when you receive the application?
No, not that I know of, that we're not able to alter their application. However, when we print it out, when we list it on council memos, when we put it anywhere that touches you all, if it's incorrect on their application, it is not incorrect on the information you receive.
And I can go through this afternoon if you'd like and remove the council district question and replace it with an question asking them for their address if you would prefer.
That's what I would rather.
Yeah, I would recommend
Thank you,
that.
Emily.
Absolutely. That's what I would rather.
Okay, I'll do that this afternoon for y'all. There is one other side of Match Board that I wanted to show if we have a moment. The Match Board allows Ashley to forward applications for y'all to review via email. And it does not require you guys to have any kind of accounts or go through any training. You will get an email that looks just like this saying that you've been invited to review some applicants. You can pull up their applications in your browser and it will show you their applications. You can view their resume if you would like. It'll download as a PDF. You can see, of course, their address, occupation, education. As I mentioned, we list the areas of experience, expertise, and interest for each application. That's where we'll cross compare that with the applicant's areas of experience, expertise, and interest, and you'll actually get a percentage match to see how qualified they are. So if you have 5 people applying for one seat, this can be a really easy way to narrow down who you would like to consider.
I have a
Except we haven't
question.
met them, so we don't know that.
Can we only get to that if we get the email from Ashley, or is that something we can go into when we want to go into to look at?
Yes, so anybody who has an administrative account, so Erica and Ashley can go in to view that information on the back end as well.
And what if I want to view it?
I'm sorry, I can't see who's speaking.
Oh, me. Well, and I guess, because I think the council folks are the ones who, I like data. So how do I get to see the data?
So the data currently is in the back end of Matchboard, so anybody who's an administrative user can access it. We can add as many administrative users as you would like.
Can you have an option where you have administrative users who cannot edit? I've had some problems in it.
That is the next enhancement we would like to introduce to the system.
Oh.
And so right now, we can certainly send you a link so that you can go in and look at it. The problem with you being an administrator is you're going to see everything. Like you're going to see all the traffic that comes through, every email, every application. You're going to see a lot of information that you probably don't want. So we could send you the link and then you can look at the ones that are relevant to the board and commission that you're filling. So they're already screened and all that kind of stuff, so you won't see all the ones that are entered. Go ahead.
And you can also provide feedback. We initially intended this to help prepare for council meetings to know whether or not to put the applicant on the council meeting agenda. So currently it's limited to, yes, I'm interested in this candidate, no, I'm not, or I would like more information. So you can give that information, and you can view multiple applicants at a time, and then submit your reviews. And that information goes directly to Erica and Ashley in the back end of the system, and it aggregates and calculates the percentage responses for each applicant reviewed. Does anyone have any other questions about the system?
Any other questions? Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. And we appreciate
Thank you very much.
you taking that question off for us. That's going to be real helpful.
Minor victory.
And real quick, we're going to let Erica take you to the link. Think that this will be helpful and she's got to kind of toggle back and forth for people out there who are interested in serving on a board and commission. This way they see where the link is so they can go to Matchboard on the website.
And we're gonna start from the homepage, Ms. Clark.
Is it possible for us to get an updated list of who's on what board and when do their terms, so that we can start thinking in advance as we're moving around town, so that when people are saying, hey, I'm interested, whatever, I don't even know who serves on every board at this point.
You mean like 6 months before someone's term is expended, we get an email saying, hey, this term's gonna be up in 3 months, whatever it is. There's something, to piggyback on what the mayor's asking. That's what I really would like.
So there is a PDF boarding capability, so Ashley and Erica can go in and download a PDF report that has that information about every single one of your boards and commissions. 90 days before a board member's term is set to expire, both the clerk and the board member get email notifications. And if the board member is eligible to be reappointed, they are also asked if they would like to serve. Serve another term.
Same email. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so we can send you that report so you could see that information.
Yeah, that would help a lot.
Emily is used to working with the clerks in other municipalities. Ashley's all boards and commissions. I just get copied on a lot of things.
That would help a lot.
Basically, you're telling us, don't bother you about it.
That's exactly what she said. This is a very nice way.
Ashley does a great job with the boards and commissions. It's in her wheelhouse.
So we'll
Alright.
send out that PDF report. That'll give you a little bit of heads up on knowing when those, and then you'll have a list of who's and
That's
what
great.
terms and all
Thank
that. Sure.
What's the cadence gonna be for that?
We probably need to talk through that because it's gonna be, of course, we can send you a list. So you already have one list that would show the terms for each person. But Ms. Wilson, that is a good question because, of course, the people are constantly, terms ending, vacancies being opened. So we will have to kind of work through what the cadence of that is because we don't want to give you information that's not accurate and that's not as current as possible. So we certainly could give you, a current list right now and then figure out what's going to be the best,
How to move
the
forward
best
from there.
cadence. Yeah, because it
Makes
is
sense.
gonna, terms are gonna end all the time.
Yeah.
And you guys are constantly doing appointments and all the, it's 36 of them and there's varying
There's some
numbers of
that,
people.
they only meet once a year.
Right.
Limited, so I mean,
Exactly.
that's also good to know too.
Exactly. Yeah, so it is a lot of information with 36 boards and boards, commissions, and committees. But Erica's yes, sir.
If Erica wants to run through the preview, I have a question more about getting information out to get people drawn in. I feel like a couple tweaks, we can manage it in-house as far as how we present it to council for decision-making. When Erica's done, would like to talk about the broader aspect of getting the information out to the neighborhoods, active groups.
Okay, sure. So I was asking Erica just to kind of take you through where it is on the website so that you can see where it is. So currently you go under departments and you go under city clerk. And that's where you will find the boards and commissions little tab. And that's where you will see those and be able to go to Matchboard and start applying. So that's the process that you go through currently. That's where we have it. We've been doing some audits of the website. We certainly can move that to a different location if you all feel like that's best. And Erica's giving me the I like move it. So we can certainly talk about where that might be more appropriately placed. Maybe it's on City Council's page. Maybe that's a better placement of that. So we can work through that and then give you an
Can you say
update.
again where it is?
It's in City Clerk right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's at the Office of City Clerk.
Can it be its own, under business licenses, just boards and commissions, since there's so many people involved? Like, I understand, like, organizationally, internally, it makes sense it's under the clerk, but I would probably go to departments and immediately look for that.
It actually, you're right, it actually doesn't make sense that it's under city clerk
Yeah.
because Erica just reminded us that it's not her
That's right, Erica
responsibility.
just reminded us, yeah.
And I think to give it, to Mr. Brennan's point, more
Why can't you just make
attention.
it?
Its own, that's what I was
Its
saying,
own.
make it its own and make boards and commissions alphabetically under business licenses, yeah.
And a get involved tag or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then on top, that's what I was saying, like
Have it on
engage
the
with us or get
homepage.
involved or whatever.
Just, we'll keep
Yeah, we
running
can
the banner
definitely do
across.
that. That's a great idea.
That's a year, Albert.
That's a good idea.
We're in a governance audit of the website process
Yeah.
now too, so all of this is great feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And in the get involved, I would recommend all the like public sessions we have too, that we want input. We could announce those there too. This is
Yeah.
separate from boards and commissions, but like any opportunity, like to comment on a master plan or whatever, it could be under that get involved tab.
I like that. Okay, we'll work on that. We'll have an update for you on that later. So, Mr. Brennan, you want to go ahead and give us your
Yeah, well, I'd
feedback?
love to hear from you and Ashley. How do we get the words out? I know placing ads in newspapers and all that, but I do feel that, neighborhood groups, business groups, other community-minded groups are starting to get more involved and pay attention more to local government.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your comments? What can we be doing more? I mean, getting them into the hands of Rotary clubs, chambers, everybody, to really let them know in advance that there's some important seats up on committees and commissions.
So I'll let Ashley kind of speak to this. We already send them out to some of those community groups in an effort to, because we agree with you. We want to get it in the hands of the people who are closest to those people who would be engaged and want to be involved. So currently, we do send it to some of those community groups. Which ones are they, Ashley, right now?
Like Columbia Urban League, Columbia Opportunity Resource, Melius Forum, lots of community organizations like YLS of the Midlands. We don't currently send it to Rotary groups, so we can include that, include them on the list. But pretty much a lot of the mainstay community groups that you hear about, we send them to their leagues.
CCN get it?
Yeah.
Yes, CCN. We send it to them. We currently send it to them. CCN.
Yeah, and I know CCN's growing, that we've always wanted them to be our network into the neighborhoods. And I think they're working well in that direction.
Post-COVID or like during COVID, we saw a decline. People are just now getting to a place where they're applying. For a while, they weren't applying at all, even though we sent them out to different agencies. Just wasn't interest. Now there's starting to be a renewed interest in serving, so.
Well, I mean, if you can team with Justin and the PR marketing team to do, bite off one at a time. What does our BOZA do? Maybe get some media hits off of that.
Oh, some segments or
Yeah,
posts,
and highlights
okay.
of
story,
those.
yeah.
That's a good idea.
So currently, yep, we issue press releases, but I don't think we've had individual segments highlighting certain boards.
Media here keeps saying they want to help us get stuff out.
Yeah.
This is a great thing for them to talk about how you can get involved in your community and look at all these opportunities.
Okay,
Let's
definitely.
push that narrative out with the media outlets.
Especially right now, people are paying attention to politics, like if you could go on Soda City Live or some of those shows and talk about this is a great way to get involved.
That is something we discussed, Soda City
Okay.
Live and then Cola Today,
Okay.
with our meetings, but sorry, we didn't mention that part. Thank you.
That's a really good idea.
It makes me think about again too, which council established their position on this with the residency requirement. I do often still get, which is neither here nor there, because I think with pushing the message, hopefully we'll address this. But there are individuals, particularly with some of the board seats like land use, where you need an architect or you need an attorney or you need a particular level of expertise, or it's required. They may live in West Columbia, but they work in the city every day. And I often get that question, can I not serve? But if I just put that back on the table, because I get that question often.
You could do it like local option. The reality is hey, if we put the application out multiple times and we're not getting anybody within the city that can fulfill that position, then the default would allow you to take somebody who works in the city. and
Does
kinda
it though? That's my question.
No,
I don't
I
know
don't think
that
it does. That's what I'm saying. We should.
Well, we
put
had
that
such a
in.
long discussion about this when we passed this boards and commissions saying, you can't serve on Richland County as a city resident. And so prioritizing our residents for some of these boards and commissions,
Why can't-
unless otherwise,
Why can't you serve on Richland County? If you live in the city, you live in Richland County.
Yeah.
city residents, we aren't allowed to.
I think you can, really?
Yeah, last time I checked.
It's a
Double
policy,
check.
allegedly. It's a policy, they don't allow it.
Yeah.
A practice.
It's a practice.
So,
A third of the residents in Richland County can't have a voice on council.
5% of the
Okay,
revenue.
Councilman Herbert, you were gonna say something.
well, now, what I was gonna say is, we have the rules, but of course, there are gonna be situations where we need to deviate. My only thing is if we deviate, we make it clear why we deviated. And that everyone understands the deviation. If we do that, I think that that is fine, but I don't think we change the rule. We keep the rule, and I don't, if y'all need to write in, under extraordinary circumstances, you know, someone may make a motion to do it, whatever, but, I don't think it's that hard.
So they
To get an
wouldn't,
exception.
so they wouldn't apply though.
They can
Because
still
of the
apply.
rule.
No.
You can still apply and
That's the
submit their.
county's rule.
So,
So your rule is that you have to live in
Right,
the
so
city.
we changed the, so if you go to, if we're gonna start kind of talking about some of the changes that were
Maybe they're.
recommended and made. Residency requirement was one of those that we changed. Because prior to that, you could live or work in the city and serve on, you know, a board, commission, or committee. So we changed that. There's not-
Can I just, I'm reading the boards and commissions, we have that exception to the rule built in. It says that they will reside in the city limits unless there's a bylaw establishing the board and commission to represent a specified organization, profession, category, group, or agency. So it gives us the leeway that if we need a architect, they would fall under the specific profession that's required that needs to be filled for that board or commission. So they can apply.
Well, so I'm sorry, let's clarify, apply and be considered, because everyone can apply.
Yeah, everyone can, yeah.
Yeah, so the application can go through, but whether or not it gets considered as meeting the requirements of the commission is,
if we're struggling
What's
to
that
fill
word?
a slot, we just tell staff, say, hey, just let all the applications go through, then we can consider them as a council.
I wasn't going that way, but
We could always do that though, right? There's nothing stopping us from.
we can do.
We're in charge.
Yes, if we're
So
having a hard
you
time
certainly
filling,
can do
we can
that.
ask them
You
to,
know,
I mean.
it does get a little confusing though when we provide you with applications and they're not in the city. And it's not with the special exception like Dr. Bustles is talking about. So we have to be real strategic about when we would show you, in my opinion, when we would show you the ones that don't live in the city. Because like Dr. Bustles said, there's a provision that allows for you to, if someone has a special, you know, there's a special profession or some special
Organization that
thing.
must be represented. or-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then those times we could do it. So we will have to be real strategic about when we
Sounds like
allow
we
those
already got it.
applications through.
I think
It's already.
So
in.
there is a provision to allow for that. We just have to know
It'll just be a
when we have
judgment
to
call.
employ that.
So I do have one follow-up question. When we get the binders and everything is printed out, but it's from the match board, am I hearing that we will only get those that qualify? So there's nothing in the binder with,
Yeah.
like, when you do your check and it's wrong, it wouldn't be in my binder.
Yeah, so this is the part that's pretty important because we want to make sure we present the most accurate information to you all. Currently, the way it's set up is that you all collectively said you only wanted to see qualified applicants. And we've talked, they said eliminate, don't show anyone that doesn't fall within the requirements, don't do this, blase, blase, because at one point we were listing all of them. It's just based on how you want it listed. If now you want to say, we want all of them listed, note that they live outside of the city limits, we'll still see all of it and then we'll decide, then we don't have a problem with changing it back to that. We just want to make sure that we're consistently giving you the information exactly the way you'd like to see it. So yes, it can be that you don't see anyone that does not live within the city limits. Or if you prefer to see all of them and have the ones that don't live in the city limits notated or that don't meet requirements notated, we can do that as well. It's just collectively deciding which you all prefer.
I would recommend that we have the memo that you're doing. I wouldn't want the packets for someone, like printing out paper for someone who's not qualified. But we always get calls from people who are saying, I applied, and then, Will keeps asking me about someone who applied. It would be good to just get the list of people. We don't need all the extras. If they're not qualified, we don't need all the extras.
So another thing to note is sometimes people will say they applied and they actually didn't, or their application didn't go through. I hate to say it that way.
Well, no, but that is a part
Hey,
that I
man.
use that document to
It's
say.
even worse if they didn't hit the button.
Right.
They hit the button.
What we could do, I know in the boards and commissions snapshot, what I'm hearing is like, we can have a list of everyone that applied.
Don't waste our
We
time.
can notate if they
You don't
fit
meet
the
the
requirements, if there's some that
criteria, man,
don't. Have that, so, but you can still see everyone. We can list that on the memo.
Qualified, yeah.
Yep, we can do that.
Another thing I know, Ashley, we talked about, and I would love for council to talk about is, so for example, we had a ton of applications for the housing authority. Do those applications roll over to when there's another vacancy, or do we start from scratch when there's another vacancy?
So currently, the policy, based on the changes you all made, was that while the application stays with the match board, if you've already declined someone or did not appoint them, you no longer want them considered for the next. So say, for instance, you vote on it in
So essentially,
February.
they'd have to go through the process again and update their application, or they're just off the list.
They are off the list for consideration based on the current policy. If they were already declined, say for instance, you vote in February and decline to appoint them, and then you come back in April, they're not considered for that based on the current policy.
So what, do they have to be considered declined if they're not chosen?
Based on the current policy, if they weren't chosen,
Well, no, I'm talking about in the system.
in the system,
Because, and honest, I'm just looking for ways that we can retain prior applications or people who've been previously interested, or tell folks that they don't have to reapply each time.
So I think what she's asking is, could we just leave them as still in consideration until we explicitly tell you we are done?
yes.
Like, we could just
can
leave them
change
still in
that.
consideration instead of declined, so that when you pull the applicants, they
Or we
come
put
to again.
deferred, yeah, there's two.
Or
options.
deferred, whatever the like status is,
Yeah.
but maybe we don't change them to decline, because I do feel like we're losing some maybe potential good applicants for another round.
Do they get something that says declined?
They'll see their status change within the match board.
That's.
So for most of them,
So for
It just says you're out.
no. So for quite a few of them, we've just been doing in consideration, leaving it or putting deferred. And then we'll also send them a message in Matchboard that says, like, if they were declined, or if they were deferred, or if they're in consideration, like FYI, we're like, or good afternoon, thank you for applying for a City of Columbia Boards of Commission. Your application's in consideration. That's all through Matchboard. So they'll see it, their status change, and then they get a message in their inbox through Matchboard.
I would just recommend that we not use the term declined.
Okay.
We can use deferred or in consideration.
I like that. I mean, in my mind, I think everybody should be eligible for the future. I mean, unless specifically they don't check all the boxes to be qualified.
Any other questions? We got a game plan here? Feel good?
For sure.
So we're gonna add boards, commissions, and committees on the website as a separate link, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna figure out how to make sure they're gonna make Emily's gonna make those changes on the application. We're gonna get a list, right, of current, and make sure that we're getting those emails like y'all discussed, and we've got already established rules on how to deal with a situation if we get where we can't. So is there anything else?
The only other things were, and we talked about the residency. Of course, they're, like Ashley said earlier, they're posted for 30 days. And we're trying to do the cadence of where we advertise on odd months and appoint on even months. We try to do that so that it didn't seem so overwhelming. There's six one way, half a dozen the next, that works or doesn't work, but that was the whole idea, is to have that, so it wouldn't be so many and so overwhelming. It still kind of comes up, but this was giving you an idea of, since we're posting these on the odd months, then be ready to appoint on those even months, so that you are aware of it.
But basically, can we kind of establish that, would it work for us to just say we're having appointments on a quarterly basis?
I mean, we can change it to quarterly. We try to do it this way because it seemed a little more manageable. Quarterly is a lot. You're gonna have a lot of boards and commissions every quarter, and a lot to try
It makes
to.
it easier for us to make sure,
Yeah.
because I know but we've got to internally, internally, we've got to make sure that we're getting these appointments done. I've gotten a lot of feedback from some of the boards saying, look, we can't have meetings because y'all delayed. I know we want to get the right people in there, so we gotta have to take a little more active role, I think. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brown was asking me in the hallway, he was mentioning that he needed a little extra time to review our packets sometimes. And he was wondering, I thought it was a great idea, Mr. Brown, if we could get our binder at the end of some meeting and at least have time to really review it. But I can never catch up on the binder of information in enough time to make a decision.
Yeah, and that's a challenge too, because, depending on when it falls, the 30 days falls all kind of places. So sometimes we'll fix a binder and then somebody will apply the next day. And then your binder's missing that person. So we'll try to work with that. We'll try to give you as much information as we can.
Requesting a special accommodation.
Because a lot of times people do apply that very last day or the day before, and then it's kind of a little scurry with with getting you some of those, but.
Do you save them as like a PDF of all of them before you print them out, or do you individually print them out for Matchboard? I'm saying that for, like, I don't necessarily need a binder, but if you wanna send it to me, like, here's the PDF of all the applications, I can look at it on my tablet. That's one less binder you have to make.
So historically, we have sent the information to you all electronically prior to the meeting so that you don't have to sort through everything.
That means you got
And it is
And a PDF,
Yes.
everything in one PDF.
Yes, we used to send it in one PDF, but then there were some complaints about the fact that it was too much information. So that's why we started sending the boards and commissions snapshot. However, if you all would like, we can include the snapshot and then also include the link through Matchboard for you all to review it.
And it's a PDF, like the link?
I believe so. The way Emily showed it, it comes up, it shows you the applications, who's applied, you all can review it that way.
I
That way
love
you're
the
not weighed
snapshot.
down
Can we
with-
try that? Do the snapshot, and I would love to.
Yes.
Because then it's updated live. As soon as someone submits, I can look at that link
Yes.
and.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Ms. Jenkins,
Then you can see the link. and you
always
see them up to
available
date.
for special requests from content.
Absolutely.
So,
And that is the sole purpose of this, so we can present it in the way that you all would like to receive it.
so I feel like y'all can get together with Herbert, everybody, working this out.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. I think trying the Matchboard link, I think that would be great. So then you're not printing applications last minute. And then if there's a council member that has someone in mind, then I think it's their responsibility to reach out to their colleagues and let them know about them instead of y'all scrambling last minute.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Right.
So just for clarification, the appointments will continue to come on multiple council agendas, not be held until a whole dump on a quarterly basis.
Right.
Yes.
Every other month,
That will
that's what it sounds like.
And that will make the packet so much smaller.
Right, because on a quarter, it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
So you all see the other changes that you all recommended, some with term limits and then with the number of people on the boards. You
Made me say
can
it.
refer to that. Speaking about the vacancies, these are the ones that are up. They'll be posted in January for appointments in February. So they've already been, the press releases have already been sent out for these. And so we'll be accepting applications for these up here. So Board of Zoning Appeals, Climate Protection Action Committee, Commercial Revolving Loan Fund, Design Development Review Commission, Greater Columbia Community Relations Council, Hospitality Tax Advisory Committee. And several of these have lots of seats, so if you have some interested
When you
people.
look at that, I mean, DDRC, zoning board are critical. I mean, they need to be on top. We need to be on top of that. Commercial revolving loan fund and others. I mean, yes, they're a priority, but the design and the zoning, I mean, zoning had a period where they couldn't even meet because they didn't have enough people.
Right.
So we need to
Yeah.
make sure we stay on top of that.
And a lot of I'm gonna, just to be real, a lot of our issues honestly are coming from some of the residency stuff. Because people are applying, but they don't live in the city. So we are, you know, if.
But that's gonna have to be a push on us as well.
Right, we have to.
Everybody keeps saying they wanna be involved, well, here's your chance.
Yeah.
Move to the city.
So I just have one
wanna control the city.
request for some of the folks who aren't as technical as others, but when you send out the advertisement, can we get that advertisement along with the Matchboard link? Because what I'm thinking is when you put that out, it would help me tremendously if I could just forward it to the last person who called us about an issue that they had related to whatever, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But, and in that way, I think we get, because it's the fun, we have to get more applications. We're trying to get more applicants in, so a diverse group. But if you could do that when it goes out, then we all know when it's being posted. And we all have 30 days to go get our, you know, like if you have a person, you got 30 days to go ahead and do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's helpful. If you all identify people who you know will be of good service, that's very helpful to those committees and to us. Okay, well, we've got some action items, so we are happy that we had the presentation and got your feedback. So we'll start doing some of these things. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Lunch across the hall, Mr. Mayor, if we could keep it moving, if you all would like to get some food and come back in and
We're going to executive session.
yes, you can make the
We'll go ahead
motion
and
for
make the
that.
motion before we do lunch.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we enter an executive session for discussions regarding the development of security personnel or devices pursuant to SE Code 3478-3, security measures and infrastructure solutions for public spaces, and discussion of matters relating to the proposed location, expansion or provision of services, encouraging location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body pursuant to SC Code 30-40785, Project Catalyst.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Bustles?
Yes.
Ms. Herbert?
Aye.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Ms. McDowell?
Yes.
Aye. All right. Those who would like a quick bite to carry